Life.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar with planetarians and how to make conventional products at a common price that are also good for you. Before we get started today, I'd like to draw your attention to the right-hand side of the screen. If you will notice, there's a place to enter your questions. There's also a poll that we're going to be running to better focus our discussion and follow-up on specific applications that you or your teams might be working on. If you could please take the time, read through it. There's more than just bakery and noodle applications in there. There's a variety of different meat substitutes and everything along those lines. If you could please take the time, read through it, and give us some feedback. It'll help us to make sure that we are tackling the problems that you guys are faced with. So thank you for those of you that have already submitted answers. We're going to look forward to reviewing the data later, so please take the time to fill it out. In the meantime, we'll kick off our discussion here today with myself, Jamie Valenti Jordan. I'm a strategic advisor for Planetarians. I also have on the line here Ale, our founder and CEO, and Edgar, our US sales manager. So with that, we'll move into our agenda for the day. And I'll let my team do a little more of an introduction of themselves when they come on. But as you can see, we've got our full agenda underway. We'll go through basically what the market scenario is that we see that's out there, our company story and how it fits into tackling those needs. And then some more information on the ingredients, the applications, and then back to a sustainability and global market claim discussion, followed by a few minutes at the end for questions and answers. So with that, I will turn it over to Edgar.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie, for the introduction, and thank you all for attending our webinar today. I have to say that I'm excited being a member of the Planetarians team and contributing to the success of this fascinating business that looks for a more efficient use of our food resources. It is a fact that we are becoming more and more aware of what we are eating. We pay more attention to the ingredients list and health claims in food products. A recent Innova Market Insights study showed that the main benefits that consumers are looking for in food products are related to cardiovascular health, weight management, energy source, brain function, and digestive health. Also, that 2 out of 5 consumers are changing their traditional diet habits looking for those benefits and increasing the consumption of what they perceive as healthier foods. Also, consumers are perceiving plant-based foods as a healthier option and a better way of controlling or for weight management. Though animal proteins are the preferred ones among Americans, a recent Nielsen Global survey found that 23% of consumers actually would like to see more plant-based proteins in the shelves of the stores. Also, that studies showed that the plant-based products grew from 8% in 2017 to 20% in 2018, compared to just 2% of all food products. This, along with sustainability, is another topic of concern among the people and consumers and population, given the food and protein needs for the growing population and their production impact in greenhouse emissions, carbon footprint, water resources, global warming, etc. A recent study highlighted that animal agriculture and the limitations that we'll have for feeding the growing population moving forward. That study showed that the current animal agriculture supplies only 37% of the protein needs, while it still uses 83% of the total agricultural land. This again supports our needs and efforts to continue developing plant-based proteins as a more efficient option with equivalent nutritional values. Alet will now describe in more detail how Planetarium started, the value propositions that we are presenting today, and how that could be applied to a diversity of products that actually could have the good source of protein and fiber claims. So here is Alet.
Yeah. Thank you, Edgar. Thank you, Edgar. Yeah. So my name is Ale Manchulianzo, and I'm 5 years ago. We were a very small team of food developers who made nutritionally complete drinks, and we were quite successful. We sold over 1 million servings of our products. And since that moment, I don't see the regular ingredients. I normally see the digits behind the meat, potatoes, or apples. And one day, I saw the sunflower oil cake. It's the dry matter left after oil was extracted from sunflower seeds. And what's caught my attention? High protein at very low cost. I remember I used to pay $5,000 for the metric ton of soy protein. Here I was asked just 200. So wait, why 5,200? This is almost nothing. So initially I was very curious how to get that ingredient for optimization our costs. But learning deeper, so I figured out it was hard like wood chips. The protein isolation was not so efficient, so companies who tried to do that ended up with the prices way above the pea protein. So the only option the vegetable oil extraction plants had is to sell it to animals. But isn't it ridiculous to sell animals and feed animals more protein than they get back from beef? So when we figure out how can we upcycle the defeated seeds for the human consumption, we thought, if we turn these defeated seeds into versatile flour, then we can pass the savings that we oversaw for ourselves to a much more broader range of companies using the flour in their applications. So we did that, and we get even more. Because when we upcycle the what's already grown, you don't need to grow more crops, occupy more land, consume more water. If you repurpose these ingredients from animal consumption, you reduce greenhouse gases emissions and making the protein affordable. So you actually help to feed the growing population from Alabama to Africa. So we set our company on a mission to upcycle the all defeated seeds with our technology. And now we are ingredient technology company. Now let me dive deeper into the nutrition and tell you what does it mean for you. So the flour that we got has the highest protein content from the upcycled ingredients. It has 2 times more protein than beer spent grains flour and 3 times more protein than all-purpose flour. And if you want to compare it with all the list of the flours on the market, you might see that we have only one competitor, soy. But soy flour is a common allergen and normally GMO, while the our flour is allergen-free and non-GMO. So now let me tell you how these digits convert into the claims. Because if you want to release, for instance, the pizza with more protein from the pizza crust than the actual pizza pepperoni, you step into the FDA-regulated territory. And, you know, to get the good source of the protein or fiber claim on the package, your serving should provide from 10 to 20% of daily values recommended by FDA. And in the case of protein, this amount should be adjusted for the protein quality. And you know that the wheat flour and the protein from the wheat flour was never great at that. So it has just 25% PDCAS. So baked products were never considered as the good source of the protein. But I bet many of you like to play the amino acid compensation game. We also do. And for instance, if we mix 1/3 of the wheat flour, 1/3 of the pulses flour, and 1/3 of the planetarians flour, we can increase the PDCAS up to 85. Let it be our secret weapon, and let me show you how, using the upcycled ingredients in the bakery applications, you can convert these products into good for you and get the claims. So let's start from the pizza. If you want to keep the same texture and the same flavor as the customer used to without educating them, so we suggest to replace 30% of the all-purpose flour with the planetarians flour. And doing that, you will double the fiber and protein, but is it enough to get the claim? To answer this question, let me guide you through a little bit more complicated series of calculations. First, you need to understand the recommended reference amount for the pizza. And for the pizza crust, it's 55 grams, but this is for the dry cooked crust. If you make the wet dough, it should be adjusted so roughly up to 20%. That raises our reference amount to 66 grams. Then we need to calculate the protein quality of our mix. And if we have a mix of 30% of planetarians flour and 70% of all-purpose flour, we get the PDCAS 46. Now we need to calculate how much actually protein we have in our mix. And for this, for the 66 grams of the flour, we get 12 grams of protein. Adjusted for the protein quality, it turns to 5. And if you divide it for the 50 grams of protein as the daily value per day, you get 11%. Enough to put the good source of the protein on the package. Same thing with the fiber, but without adjustment for the quality. And you have here 17%, and again, good source of the fiber. And let me notice here, keeping the same costs, because our flour matches the price of the all-purpose flour. Okay, is the pizza the unique case, or we can replicate the result on something else? Let's look at the burger bun. And the burger bun, you also want to keep the same flavor and taste, so we suggest to replace up to 30% of all-purpose flour with the planetarians flour. Here again, double the protein and fiber content, and if you go through the same sequence of calculations, you get the slightly above 10% and 15.9% for fiber. That's again says it's good source of the protein and fiber. Okay, these are the digits, but how does the flour behave? So let me show you the video with the Anna Fitting, the chef who had the opportunity to play with our flour.
So my name's Anna. I'm a pastry chef living in New York City. I focus primarily on sustainable recipes. With the planetarian flour, I made pizza dough and burger buns. I found like barely any taste. Like it was super subtle. It didn't really add any flavor of its own to the recipes. So that was really positive, I think, to build versatility in the product. Because with a lot of other like alternative flours, you find a really, really strong taste that it carries, and it's kind of hard to incorporate it into all recipes. And I found it easy to build a gluten formation even just using my hands, which is pretty impressive because with actually all other alternative flours, you're not really able to do that. And you just like mix and mix and mix, and like add starch or add like a gum, you know, to get it to create that texture that you want. But with the 100 mesh, it really acted just like all purpose. So as I mentioned, I used it just for 2 yeasted doughs. But for this flour, I think really it can be used in pretty much all recipes where you would see all purpose and like swapped out for a 30-70 ratio. So yeah, I could in like cakes, cookies, tart doughs particularly. So therefore, the planetarians would also be applicable for pasta preparations. It looks like cake dough or cake batter or bread dough, but it's black. So, you know, like it's easy enough to recognize. And I think that I like the fact that it seems like something that everybody could really use easily.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Anna. So let's continue. Now let me show you the example with the pancakes. Well, with the pancakes, or given the higher reference amount, we get the excellent source of the fiber claim and almost excellent 18.98% good source of protein claim. And let me point here. So we didn't take into consideration the protein that comes from the other ingredients except the flour. So to let you keep the recipes vegan if you wish. Now let's raise the bar up to the bread. Can the bread become can the slice of the bread become better than the piece of ham on top of that? So you see, if we replace 30%, we double the protein and fiber. And yes, we have the right to put the claim good source of protein and fiber on the bread. And let me seize the moment here and ask you to imagine the day when we get all the protein from the bakery products, from bread, burger bun, pizza crust. Then it means we don't need the animal products for everyday consumption. Well, we can, but we don't need them desperately. Isn't it a great future? And if you live in Asia, so where you can find noodles on every table, or in Europe, where the pasta is the staple food. So you will be curious to convert the pasta or noodles into the good source of the protein. And here on my calculations, you can see that we have the right to do that. And let me play another video, this time with the stress test from the pasta, from the cooked pasta. Which we did in the Italian kitchen. That's
Fast.
Doesn't
Ha
break.
passato lo stress test.
Eh?
Ha passato lo stress test.
Sì,
perché
ma
non si
si poteva, Ma che bello. Fermento.
okay. Okay, so I hope you saw that, but I think that bakery applications for us it's just the beginning. So because look at the hybrid meats. Soy was used for years for fortification of the meat products, but they earned the perception of the cheap product. Then manufacturers wants to save on the costs. But when you fortify the meat products with and plant-based protein and the fiber, you make them healthier. Because you reduce the cholesterol and provide prebiotics for the guts. So same thing, if you make the flexitarian meals and add the protein and fiber, reducing cholesterol simultaneously. And let me remind you, keeping the same costs because Planetarian's flour matches the price of the all-purpose flour. And for those of you who wants to play with the spreads, dips, or purees, so then you can easily fortify the vegetable purees with our flour and convert them into the good source of the protein and fiber. Okay, let me think that I convinced that you can make it. but will they eat it? To answer this question, we manufactured chips from our ingredients, launched it on Amazon, and we got 69% month-to-month growth. Our chips were featured on ABC, Today's Dietitian recommended us, and National Sunflower Association endorsed us. But I think instead of listening to me, listen to the reviews that our customers say during the sampling.
It does look like a brownie, but it tastes like a delicious, spicy chip, and I love it.
I really can't believe that it has more protein than meat, but it does.
It had a nice airy texture, and it had a nice spice to it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Stretch is excellent.
Barbecue is amazing. We really like it.
Very delicious.
I like the cinnamon.
I kind of like the sweet one the best. Yeah.
What I love about these is that they're dense and flavorful, and it's not like eating a chip. It's like eating a small, like a dense cracker that's super tasty. Super tasty, right?
Okay, so I can listen these testimonials for years, but let's get back to our presentation. And what I think that if you get the sample of our flour, and I encourage you to send us the email to the invitation you got to the webinar, and we're ready to send you these samples. So you can expand the list of applications far beyond that you see here on this slide. How far? For instance, you may do something crazy like our friends from Foodini. So they made 3D printed cookies, and they say this is yummy. Now let's say about the business. So how can you convert those good source claims into the profits? First, you can attract more customers willing to eat plant-based. Then, given the healthy benefits, you can convince them to consume your products more often. Oh, and if you wish to charge premium for the added value, you may launch premium product lines. And since we launched it, since we introduced our ingredients on IFT last summer, we have already 46 companies running testing the samples, and we are very happy to have Barilla who completed the tests and committed investment into our company. So you may join this list of the companies. And now let me pass the mic to James to outline the sustainability benefits.
Thank you, Ali. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, again, for listening all the way through. As we all know, we're faced with the 2050 challenge of feeding more people than we ever have in human history. And so one of the trends that most of us are looking at is how to leverage proteins that are currently grown and not pass them through an animal as a conversion factor in order to feed more people. So if you look at it from a truly caloric standpoint, we're looking at 1.5 billion additional people that we can feed just by taking this directly to human consumption. If we look at a little deeper onto the resources required to go through the conversion, Ellie, next slide.
Yeah.
If we look at what the resources are required to do this type of a conversion, and what's necessary to optimize these proteins for human consumption, you're looking at a lot of CO2, a lot of water, a lot of land use. A lot of this is beating a dead horse, so to speak. Most of us already know this, but upcycled ingredients specifically are an interesting element to this because of the conversion of a waste stream into a byproduct stream back into a value-added stream. And so this is very much a high-level view, but it's one of the things that we're looking at from a macro trend that we're playing into. And with this, I'll pass it just for one last couple of comments from Ale. What would hold people? What what would be one of the distinguishing characteristics of our product that would give us additional value?
Yes. That's I guess the only big question that left in your head. It's about the color. So all the products that you saw were dark. And initially, we thought that this is something we need to bleach because consumers used to the white, beige, tan-colored products. But later, we came to the analogy between the brown rice and the white rice, between the craft beer and the conventional beer. And now we think that the dark color is the distinguishing trademark for our ingredients. Look at them. They are great and they taste yummy. So once the Barilla confirmed our aspiration to promote the premium craft artisanal looking color, so we think that we can make it our distinguishing trademark. So let me finish for now. And be open for your questions. Jamie, can you help me? What kind of questions do we have?
Yeah? Sure thing. So again, while we're getting the last few questions in here, remember that if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, there's both the questions and the poll section. If you would like to pose a question, just go ahead and drop it in there. We'll address it live. Also, if we could provide us with some additional data for our polls, that would be great. And in the meantime, Ale, one of the questions that's come in is around supply. Is this material available for us now for samples? Is it available for us to work through development and commercialization? Or what kind of volumes are we?
Thank you, Demi. Yes, once we completed our feasibility tests in the University of Minnesota, and Medallion Labs certified that we have a food-grade ingredient, so we found a co-packer in the Minnesota, and from our Minnesota facility, we're ready to provide you as small samples to play in your lab, as for the full-size samples to make the trials. And if you are listening us from Europe, I'm right now in Milan, in Italy, where we're piloting our technology with the cereal dogs, and hope that starting from the mid of February, so we can deliver samples already from the European facility. But if you're even from Asia, the DHL and UPS work everywhere, so we're ready to supply you samples there as well.
Excellent. Yes, and I can personally attest to the roughly 4,000 pounds that we've got sitting in a warehouse in Wisconsin. So that's ready to go as soon as people want it. So next question, from a regulatory standpoint, where's the ingredient sitting based on the worldwide regulatory requirements in each region?
Okay, that's a great question because it was initially the biggest question for us. Do we have the right to sell to people what normally animals eat? And once we get the confirmation from Medallion Labs, that actually opened the door for us to market our chips to the public audience. So right now we also going through the GRAS certification here in the United States. So in a couple of months we'll have the self-affirmative GRAS certification, and soon I guess we'll have the no objection letter from the FDA, because we upcycle the edible ingredients from the edible seeds. So, and we're doing the very same work in the Europe with EFSA. So soon we'll have the paperwork ready to sell here in Europe as well.
All right, thank you, Ale. One last question before we have to go here, I think. How far out is the timeline for commercialization, and when are we going to be producing in mass quantities?
So according to our agreement with Cereal Dogs, we will be ready to manufacture up to 100 metric tons of the flour starting from March. So if you want a truckload, we have it.
Great, excellent. Not seeing any other questions come in at this time. I know everybody likes for these things to end on time and go back to their day. So if you have any additional questions, please follow up with me or anyone on the team directly. You can see my email address directly on here. This is my cell phone number as well. Please give me a call. And also, if you are interested in these samples, please reach out to me directly. I will get you those in the mail probably within 48 hours. So get there as quickly as you can. And with that, I'll give everyone 1 minute back to their day. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.